Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of White Page India, I'd like to welcome each and every one of you here to this conclave, the best of India. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a set of very professional people here, leaders in their own right who have done things differently. It is time for us to recognize all their efforts and give them their rightful dues, not only as leaders, but even as brand ambassadors and brand leaders. I'd like to kickstart this conclave by calling upon one of our guests of honors. It's my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you Mr. M.N.S. Venkatesh, Chief Executive Officer, Association of Mutual Funds in India.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The canvas that has been set apart by White Page International when they are talking of brand, building up of brands, the leadership, awarding the leaders, and also then trying to say that let us give a forum for each one of us to engage and get to know from each other what we are actually done differently, which is setting us apart in our journey, which of the business that each one of us undertake. So how the BFSI sector has been completely dominated by the changes that are coming up in one series after other. That is really putting a lot of pressure for the BFSI sector because they have to adopt technology. They have to adopt the entire range of technology. It is not one technology, the entire range of technology. And when we are looking at the way in which the mutual fund industry has moved within the BFSI segment, the mutual fund industry has moved a lot. Over the last 10 years, if you are looking at it, it has moved in leaps and bounds. 1963, the first mutual fund was set up in this country, Unit Trust of India, and it took around 50 years for it to reach around 10 trillion. And within say another 2 years, 3 years, it actually doubled it to 20 trillion. And today we are at around 25 trillion. So the pace at which the mutual fund industry is growing is enormous. So I think we have a wonderful day ahead, and I wish this conference all success, and we will have a great get-together in the evening. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to a panel discussion.
It's a wonderful panel that I have been asked to moderate. I do not know how much justice that I will do because this panelist is a real wonderful panel that has been given to me. So let me just start off by giving Kannan, CFO Hinduja Group, to air his thoughts on what he feels embracing transformation in BFSI, what are all the opportunities which are there, and what risks he sees.
If you look at, there are 4 types of disruptions happening not only in finance but across the industries. One is the disruption happening, as Mr. Venkatesh has said. One is the technology which is disrupting all types of business. You look at it today. Then look at consumer preference. Third, you look at hyper competition in 20 industries, at least in India we see, right from banking to mutual funds to insurance to telecom. People are competing, they are reducing the price, their margins are going down, they are not able to find money for further capex. And the last one, if you look at in terms of disruption, in fact, the intent of any new regulation or new regulator is to make the life simple for companies. So in 2000, we had only one regulator in India. Today, we have 15 regulators. As and when a new regulator comes, what happens? It is going to make the life difficult for people. Very, very difficult for companies to comply with all the regulations. So these are 4 which are happening. Of course, we are very, very happy to see what government is doing in terms of a lot of these measures. But what has happened because of these 4 disruptions, most of the industries in India today have become uncompetitive. So to revive, what is that has to be done? If you ask me, the 4 aspects have to be addressed. So I can say that we can do a lot of things from India.
Dilshad, there is a lot of transformation which is happening. Do you believe that there is a risk in embracing the transformation, or do you believe that we should embrace that transformation and convert that into an opportunity so that it helps for the overall growth of the economy, for the overall growth of that particular industry?
I think technology is a good way to, it's an enabler for us. It's something that what we were doing earlier in terms of manual work and manual processes that we were following, we're trying to automate that a lot more now. And to that extent, definitely, we are, using technology to our benefit. And I think one must embrace opportunities and technology, to enable us to move to the next level.
Let me come to Hari Prasad. There has been a lot of change, like what Kannan also talking about, the regulatory aspects coming into picture. There have been a lot of changes in the regulations of late, which throws certain challenges to you. What sort of an innovation do you see coming up in the currency management, in let us say the remittance businesses?
If I have to spell out 2-3 challenges what we face day in, day out in this business, one is definitely the regulatory challenges what we face. Second is the compliance challenges that we face in this business. And third is the market sentiments, that the global and the domestic market developments that disrupt this industry day in, day out. So coming back to the regulatory challenge when I tell is that this is an industry which is highly regulated by the government. So it's very important that we conduct the business in a way that is desirable to the country, to the economy, and to the entire globe. So second is the compliance aspect. Today, compliance is becoming a very expensive affair as with regard to any business. Third is the market developments in the global and domestic markets impact our business day in, day out. It's a very shallow market, so any slight disruption in the global markets impacts the dollar-rupee rate, and then we, bear the brunt of it.
Mr. Shabir, can you tell us how do you embrace technology, or how do you embrace this transformation, and how do you feel that you are able to cope up with the challenges and opportunities which are there?
In BFSI, if you look at it in banking, if you look at it, what the customer is saying is, please don't scare me with bankruptcy. Reward me for what I am placing the money with you or having confidence and trust in you. That's what the customer is saying. 76% of the customers say, please treat me as a person. I think in the future, banks will not be there, but banking is there. I keep repeating this kind of a thing. To say banks will not be there, banking will be there, which means only transactions will happen. And so what we need to do is look on what are the needs of the customer, what he's looking for. We have got multiple channels for servicing the customer. What we need is an omni-channel, which means that omni-channel cannot be a replacement for multi-channel, but it could be something like an enrichment for the existing ones. So it has to be available everywhere, but that delivery can be had only with two things. One is the infrastructure, the other is technology. Both have to be combined together, and then we need to look into customers. What they're looking for is, I think you need to understand the unstated needs of the client. What is wealth for him? What is long-term planning for him? Now, artificial intelligence is there. Artificial intelligence will come in place, but emotional intelligence will not come. For that, you need a human person. So it has to be a combination of both the human person as well as the technology. There'll be a downward pressure on the margins. And we have been seeing it in our own industry, like mutual funds, which is there, which is coming down continuously, and will keep happening it. So what it means is that if you can retain a customer, then your expenses will come down, your operating profits would come down. So research says that 2% of the retention will reduce 10% of the cost of the establishment. This is where we need to focus on. We also need to focus on what are we prepared for the event, or is it an eventuality? These are the two things that we need to think of, and that needs to be probably taken into account.
The three things which, when I think of this subject, the three words which come to my mind are cashless, peopleless, paperless. These are the ways in which the business wants to conduct itself. or the BFSI wants to conduct itself. We welcome that, we respect that. But as industry, we welcome this disruption. But what we also would like to see when we want to embrace the changes, the way that we want the BFSI to embrace changes, is how it is responding to the customer needs. I think focus also needs to equally shift in that direction. So a lot of changes are happening. We have to unlearn, we have to learn. We are ready to embrace all these changes. We welcome all these changes because we know the only thing constant is disruption.
Let me thank all my panelists, panel panelists, for doing a wonderful job. Please put your hands together to the panelists.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now going to be the turn of our next guest of honor to address this august gathering. May I call upon His Excellency Zainul Azlan Mahmud, Consul General, Consulate of Malaysia, to please address this gathering.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Namaste, a very good afternoon, and Salam Sejahtera, which is our word for Namaste. So actually it is indeed an honor for me to be here. I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere appreciation to the organizer, White Page India, for inviting me to this August event. So India's stature as the global economic power, as you know, is growing day by day. Despite the little setback in terms of the economic growth, but I personally am convinced that India will be there among the top 3 or top 4 biggest economy in the world. So, of course, that is indebted to the sound economic policy of the country, championed by the Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi, and of course, not to discount the important role played by people like you, the entrepreneurs, business community, all the hardworking farmers at villages. Like mentioned by my colleague just now, that India is actually blessed to have vast entrepreneurial talents in the country, which is going to drive the economy. So I myself, I have been here for around 2 years here. I can see this clearly, and so that's why I think it's a I would say a good posting for me as well, because we share the same objective of strengthening relations, especially in terms of economic sector. So I'm sure all of you are aware that with a new tax structure announced by the Indian government to improve the economic climate, it is believed that that would actually would propel the economy towards greater heights. So we look forward for India to achieve that. So, but let me tell you, when I first approached by the organizer on why they want me to be here, I received an answer which I had exactly anticipated. It is due to the fact, or mainly due to the fact that Malaysia is very much a business-friendly country, and the fact that both of us, Malaysia and India, we share warm and friendly ties. These are 2 elements which are very important for the 2 countries to have a very close economic relations. I wouldn't intend to take much of your time, but I just want to give some idea to you about the excellent economic relations that we are having. For example, that our trade relations in 2018, we have surpassed more than our target, which is $15 billion US dollar. In 2018, we managed to reach around 15.5 billion US dollar of economic, or rather trade figures between the 2 countries. This is 2 years earlier than our target in 2020. We managed to achieve it in 2018. So again, I would like to take this opportunity to thank White Page India for inviting me to this event. So I wish the forum all the success, and I hope we can have some time to engage during this forum or beyond this conference. So thank you very much again.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the time that we have all been waiting for this evening has finally arrived. The Leadership Awards 2019. To do the honors this evening, may I call upon His Excellency once again to kindly come up on stage, along with Mr. N.S. Venkatesh, Chief Executive Officer. Could I request both the gentlemen to come up on stage? Ladies and gentlemen, in no particular order, coming up first is Mr. Sanjeev Mishra, CEO, Convergetics. Coming up next, Mr. Arush Gupta, Director, Okaya Power. Our next award goes to Ravi Chawla, will receive this award through a proxy. Managing Director, Gulf Oil. We move on to the next one, Mr. Satya Vadyamani, Chairman and Managing Director, Murli Krishna Pharma. We have Mr. Nipun Singhal, CEO and Managing Director, Amstred. Come along, Mr. Singhal. Next up here, Mr. T.C. Guru Prasad, CEO and Managing Director, Ebix Cash. That would be through a proxy, I guess. Coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, the award to Mr. Avnish Singh, CEO of Encraft. The award to Rajesh Doshi, co-founder and director of Zebronics. What do we have next? This time it's going to be the CEO of Oaknet Healthcare, Mr. R.S. Raghav. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, this time through proxy, the winner, Rajesh Sharma, Managing Director, Capri Global. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to Mr. V.K. Mohan, CEO, Robo Silicon. And this time, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Anuj Srivastava, CEO and co-founder, LifeSpace. Well, could we have someone on behalf of Mr. Ramakant Sharma, Director and co-founder, LiveSpace? The next award, ladies and gentlemen, goes to Mr. Nanda Kumar T, Director Prominence. Mr. R. Kannan, Head Performance Monitoring at Hinduja Group. To receive the next award, please. Come along. Our next award goes to Mr. Sitaram Agarwal, Chairman and Founder, Super Shakti TMT. The next award goes to Mr. Manmohan Joshi, Founder, Vedic Shiksha. Moving on this time, Miss Aparna Reddy, Director, Aparna Venster. Coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, the founder of Dilzer Consultants, Miss Dilshad Bilimoria. Come along, madam. Moving on this time, it's going to be Mr. M. S. Shabir, Managing Director, Sensage Financial Services. It's now time for you, Mr. Rajiv Nevar, CFO, Charlotte Hotels. This time moving on to someone from the healthcare industry, the Chairman and Managing Director, Vardhaman Health Specialities, Mr. Jayantilal Chauhan. Dr. Vandana Hegde, Clinical Director and Consultant Reproductive Medical Specialist at Hegde Fertility. This time it's going to be Dr. Vikas Gauri, Lead Plastic and Cosmetic Surgeon, Kyra Aesthetic Clinics. Moving on, the founder architect of OCI Architects, Miss Pony Concesio. Miss Pony, please. And this time it's going to be Oscar Concesio. Come along. Founder architect, OCI Architect. In person this time, Oscar. Next up here, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Deb Mukherjee, CEO and founder, Wisdom Capital. Our next award goes to Mr. Vishal Agarwal, Chairman, Heritage Laminate. May I request someone for and on behalf of Mr. Bankim Patel, Managing Director, Evershine Appliances. Coming up next, an award to Ms. Chandni Agarwal, Founder, Little Tags. Mr. Sudesh Narayanan, CEO, Knowledge Lens. Our next leadership award goes to Mr. Dinesh Kumar Agarwal, Managing Director, KBM Spices. Our next leadership award, ladies and gentlemen, goes to Mr. Anand Garg, Founder, Future Shaw. Moving on, our next award winner, Mr. Jayesh Shah, Founder, Dutt Krupa. Mr. Shankar Lal Shah, Chairman, Avantis Group, to receive the next leadership award, please. Come forward. The award goes to Mr. Gautam Chandu, Managing Director, Hariram Engineering. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for all our winners here this evening.